Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. You know, it's nice to actually talk about things we're excited for, or at least cautiously optimistic about. And you know what? It was one of them situations where we heard the reports of that we're going to get a couple of new Lord of the Rings movies from Warner Brothers and that Peter Jackson and Andy Serkis were coming back. Well, I think that actually got a lot of people excited. That gave a lot of people a little optimism, especially after the absolute abomination that so many Lord of the Rings fans have been suffering through out there, none other than the absolute abomination that is Amazon's Rings of Power. So a lot of Lord of the Rings fans got excited when we heard about this. And well, boys and girls, it looks like we've got a few more details that the screenwriter has decided to let slip out there in a wonderful new little interview out there. And honestly, it's so nice and refreshing to talk about something that we are cautiously optimistic about that I would say we are borderline even excited for. And now we're bringing some new details as far as what we've got for the movie, for the hunt for Gollum, and also how much of a role Gandalf will be playing in these movies as well. And that is very exciting. That is very interesting to see right here, boys and girls. We're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details and see exactly what the new good information we've got here for the future of the Lord of the Rings franchise over there at Warner Brothers Discovery. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below to get you excited for the future of this movie. So these details let you think that this is actually going to end up being really, really good and could be a fun time out there. What do you think about the fact that Gandalf will indeed end up being returning for these going forward? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, so from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet John F. Trent. The Lord of the Rings screenwriter Philippa Boyens shared new details about the hunt for Gollum. The Hunt for Gollum film also reached in an upcoming film will providing the clarity is that she and Warner Brothers are working on regarding the film adaptations of J.R.R. Tolkien's works. In an interview with Empire, Bowens shared that the previously announced The Hunt for Gollum film that Andy Serkis is directing is a single film and not the first of two. However, she did share that there was a second film in the works as well. And that's one of the things that were kind of like confusing about the initial announcement out there. A lot of people were wondering was they announced that they were going to do two movies, but the only thing we heard about was it was going to be a Gollum movie. So they were doing Gollum Part 1 and Part 2. Well, now she's clarified that, and no, it is going to be two separate movies with two separate stories. So I'm going to be really curious to see what they pull up with for the second story out there. I mean, maybe some Gandalf stuff, maybe like a Gandalf story or something, maybe an Aragorn story. I don't know. Either way, it's kind of fascinating to think about what are the ways they could go with that one. Speaking specifically to The Hunt for Gollum, Boyan stated, I can tell you definitively it isn't two films. That was a genuine misunderstanding that happened because we begun to work conceptually on two different live-action films. The first being The Hunt for Gollum, and the second one still to be confirmed. So it sounds like they have to come up with a really good idea in order to get Zaslav over there at Warner Brothers to sign off on it. But The Hunt for Gollum one seems to be kind of like a sure thing because that actually makes sense. And like I said, Andy Serkis, Peter Jackson back. I mean, come on paper, it looks like an easy layup. It looks like an easy layup. Bowens then shared plot details for The Hunt for Gollum. It's quite an intense story, which falls after the birthday party of Bilbo and before the Mines of Moria. Because yes, if you guys remember correctly, the Mines of Moria was the next time we saw Gollum out there lurking in the shadows in the movies and also in the obviously in the books as well. So that would be a very interesting, because that's when we know like that's where the time where he gets captured and he gets tortured and lets all the information out and yada, yada, yada about all that kind of stuff. Like we saw some hints to that in the movies out there, but now they're actually going to do the full thing, which personally I think could be very fascinating. And with Andy Serkis out there doing this, I think this could end up being good. So next she revealed the film will be told through Gollum's perspective. It's a specific chunk of incredible untold story told through the perspective of this incredible creature. And that could be a very fascinating thing to see, having him experience all the torture, all the trauma, seeing him sneak around and do everything else like he did. And like I said, having Andy Serkis back, I mean, that's just perfect. And it makes sense since Andy Serkis is directing that this is going to be from Gollum's perspective. Gollum was his character. He did an absolute fantastic job with that. And he's going to be right back doing this all over again. So Boyan's comments come on the wake of the Warner Brothers officially announcing the two films in a write-up at Deadline. Warner Brothers film head Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy stated for over 2 decades, oh yeah, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy, oh yeah, those, you know, the people that convinced David Zaslav to allow Joker 2, Todd Phillips, just to have full reign and do whatever he wants. Yeah, I don't know if that'd be the best people to be listening to after that one anymore. Hopefully Zaslav's learned his lesson. For over 2 decades, moviegoers have embraced the Lord of the Rings films trilogy because of the undeniable devotion Peter, Fran, and Philippi have showed towards protecting the legacy of Tolkien's work, and to ensure audiences could experience the incredible world he created in a way that honors his literary vision. And obviously, from the original movies, they did an incredible job. I mean, there's arguments to be made out there that is probably the best trilogy of movies of all time. They are incredible, always worth going back and watching the director's cuts, the fully blown extended editions every single time. It's worth it, boys and girls. We are honored that they have agreed to be our partners on these 2 new films. With Andy coming aboard to direct The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, we continue an important commitment to the excellence that is the true hallmark of how we all want to venture ahead and further contribute to the Lord of the Rings cinematic history, unlike what Amazon has done with Rings of Power. Obviously. Following this, Ian McKellen appeared on The Morning Show in September and said, "Well, all I know is that they called me up and said that these films were going to happen, mainly be about Gollum. Andy Serkis, who played Gollum, is going to direct, and there would be a script arriving sometime in the new year. That's next year. And then I'll judge whether I want to go back," right? And that makes sense, right? You're going to want to look at the script, you're going to see what they do, because if it's got some kind of ridiculous nonsense going on, you're like, man, I don't want to be no part about this. And Ian McKellen, I mean, it's not like he needs the work. I mean, this guy is a legend, you know what I mean? Like, he's been all over the place forever and ever, so it's not like the guy needs the work by any means. He is at the point in his career where he gets to decide what he wants to do and whether or not he wants to deal with this kind of stuff. But there's a little caveat to that as well. But I would love to go back to New Zealand, number one. And also, I don't like the idea of anybody else playing Gandalf. And neither do we, good sir. You did an incredibly excellent job in those movies and absolutely deserve to come back. Trust me, all of the fans would love it as well. When I asked if there was more than one film, McKellen shared, "I'm told it's 2 films. I probably shouldn't be saying, but I haven't read the script and I don't know when it is. I don't even know where it'll be filmed because these days I could probably film it all in London, but I'd rather not. I'd rather go back to New Zealand," which makes sense. Bowens addressed McKellen's comments, telling Empire, "We're playing around with a number of ideas, but most of those ideas do include Gandalf. So yes, boys and girls, it's more than likely than not that Gandalf will be a major role, a major player in these movies. So Gandalf would potentially return for 2 live action films. So there we go, boys and girls. The Hunt for Gollum is going to be made from his perspective out there, watching him try to escape and watching him try to get away from everybody out there. And none other than Gandalf will be a major part of both of those movies. And we don't even know what the second movie is going to be yet. They're still trying to get a green light, but this is something that all gives me good and warm fuzzies, ladies and gentlemen. I love hearing about how much they want to respect Tolkien's world. They want to respect Tolkien's universe, especially after the absolute abomination that is Rings of Power. It's good to have people that actually seem dedicated and interested and doing a good representation of Tolkien. And we know these guys have done a good job in the past on all of this kind of stuff as well. We knew from Rings of Power right from the very beginning that the people behind it were not to be trusted in any way, shape, or form. Unlike in this situation with Warner Brothers Discovery, these are solid folks that in the past have given us good quality content in general, good quality movies, good quality stories, but also incredibly well done Lord of the Rings content. And ladies and gentlemen, if that in itself doesn't give you a little bit of hope, hopefully these new little updates about what this movie will all be about and the fact that we will be getting Gandalf back in more than likely both of these movies in one form or another. And boys and girls, I think that is something very, very happy to hear. So be smart, Warner Brothers, do the right thing, make the fans happy, stick to the universe of Tolkien and how it is properly represented, and we will make you rich. And at the end of the day, you will get exactly what you deserve.